Hello again, everyone. This is Trebus with SC2 Noob School, and you are watching Bronze to Diamond Week, and today we're in the Silver League. We're going to be looking at a silver level Terran player. This is Darkman, who sent me this replay just yesterday, so thank you, Darkman, for the replay. And I really like this replay because it shows exactly why macro is so incredibly important. Now, Darkman is going to win this game. However, Darkman is in Silver League, and as I was watching this replay, there were so many things I was seeing in this replay that I never ever see from a Silver League player. Good things, unit control, scouting, strategy, so many good things that Darkman is doing, and yet he's still in Silver League, which I think can be remedied by maybe fixing just one or two things in his play that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But this replay shows you why exactly macro is so incredibly important. You can be so good at so many other aspects of the game, and if your macro isn't there, you're still going to be falling to the lower leagues, and people with superior macro to you are just going to win. I mean, I really can't stress enough how many good things I see in this replay. It's actually pretty incredible. A lot of the play that I see here, you know, there's a lot of platinum and diamond players that don't do the things that Darkman does in this replay. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So the beginning build order is pretty good. There's something weird happens here with a lot of queuing of Marines. I'm not sure really what happened there. He realizes his mistake in a second and fixes it. Although it did cause a bit of a bump in the macro. This supply depot is going to be late and going to end up building another supply depot. And the reactor is, I guess, no, that was down at a good time. Anyway, the build in the end goal of this build is to go full mech against Zerg. So, Hellions, Siege Tanks, and Thors is the composition that he's going for. And the way he's getting there, and the way he's getting his expansion, is doing a Hellion expand. Although, the way he executes the Hellion expand is not exactly correct. You should try to get your factory out first, then get your reactor, then get your command center. That's the way that all the pros do it, and it's kind of understood as, I guess, the best way to do it, because you get the Hellions out fast to get map control and put pressure on the Zerg to get spine crawlers and lings and maybe an extra queen and stuff like that. So that would be my critique of this early game build order. Now, the thing that we're going to see as this game goes on, and I'm actually going to go kind of quickly through this game because there's really so few mistakes in this game that yeah, I just want to focus on those things. The mistake that we see is a lack of adding on additional buildings whenever he goes for an expansion. So Darkman, like I was saying, his strategy level, and I can tell his knowledge of the game is very high. However, he's missing a key aspect, which is adding on production facilities. That's the one thing that if I had to critique out of his play is certainly missing. So let's go ahead and watch some of this play right here. You can see he's poking in with the Hellions, getting as much information as he can, not overcommitting with the Hellions, not trying to send them in there, going on a gamble, trying to get a bunch of kills, which is so tempting to do when you have this many Hellions on the field. Just being patient with them, and we're going to see something that he does really cool. Okay, so here's what I want to mention and what I want Darkman to try to do in his future games. Think of your expansions and your unit producing structures to be intimately tied, because they are. Whenever you get an expansion, you're going to have this burst of income. You'll likely be transferring SCVs, so you'll be more efficient. You'll be getting double the SCVs, double the mules, double the gas, all those things. So you can essentially think of whenever you add on an expansion, at that exact time, you also want to be adding on unit producing structures. Link those two things in your mind so that you don't ever do one without the other, because what I see in this replay is I see well-timed expansions with almost never adding new unit producing structures. And if you can just link them in your head and do those all at the same time, I think you'll be really successful. The rule of thumb I want to give you is try to add approximately, and this is just a rough number, it obviously changes depending on your unit composition or what's happened in the game, but the rough number is try to have about 3 structures per base. So when you're on your 1 base, 3 structures is a good number. People go for the 1-1-1 build and then they go for an expand. People do 3 racks expansions. 3 buildings is a pretty good number. When you get this second base up, maybe I don't know, after you start getting the gas or something like that, some kind of indicator to yourself, 3 more production structures. Have that be your goal before you ever lay down another orbital command. And just have that in your head as kind of your overall goal. You can go above this. I wouldn't go below it. In fact, if macro is your problem, it's much better to go above it. That way you can have more structures to produce more units when your macro falls behind, rather than having less structures and having to panic and create new structures, and maybe they won't be out in time. So that is the #1 thing that Darkman needs to do to improve his play. We're going to go ahead and watch the rest of this, because Darkman does some things that I think are incredibly clever, incredibly smart. Here's the first thing. Doesn't want to commit all of these Hellions to an attack. There's spine crawlers here and lings and queens. So he sends 1 Hellion in to do some poking. He doesn't send it off to his death, and as soon as the Zerglings come in, he's pulling his Hellion back. And what's going to happen here? Zerg player is not paying attention. He probably said, oh, 1 Hellion, well, I'll just send these lings at him. And look at all those free kills. That is incredible. You can see the Zerg player's having to spend a whole lot of larva on a new set of Zerglings, and so incredibly, incredibly important. One of the other things I wanted to talk about here is it's a minor mistake, but it is important nonetheless. You can see Darkman is going for a mech build. He already has 2 factories out, and in a second you're going to see more factories coming out. And he throws up a lot of turrets just kind of haphazardly, really not as a reaction to anything. He's just kind of throwing turrets up. I think if he's reacting to anything, it's because he's seeing only Zerglings and he's assuming it's going to be mutas. But you can't really assume that, and he doesn't know the timing of the lair. So my advice would be, before you throw these turrets up just haphazardly, because you can see he's already low on minerals, he could really use those minerals right now, go ahead and just use 1 scan on the base, and that could save you from making a lot of turrets. If you see an infestation pit, you don't have to make the turrets at all. If you only see the lair, well, then maybe make a turret or 2 at each base. I would say maybe just 1 turret per base right in the mineral line so you can repair if you need. But it is wise, I will say this, it is wise to get turrets when you're going mech, because until you have Thors out, you're very vulnerable to Mutalisks. Alright, we're going to continue on with this replay. By the way, be sure to like this video. I want to see if we can get 100 likes on this video. That's the goal that I have in my head. See if you guys can do that for me. And here we see some more good poking in. We see he's not overcommitting to anything. He's not getting greedy, not trying to get drones. It takes so much discipline to do that, and it's something that most Silver League players aren't doing. They're not capable of doing, or they just flat aren't doing it. So here we go. Here's illustrating the problem once more. 3rd base coming up. Where are the production structures? We've had the exact same structures since being on 1 base, and now we're going to be on 3 bases. Where are the structures? So at this point, try to get 9 production structures up. If you can link those in your head, you can be very successful. Here's some more non-Silver League tactics. We see an elevator, Hellion push. Little mistake with these Hellions right there, getting them killed by a bunch of Zerglings. And then we are going to see a little overcommitment of the Hellions right here. Getting a little bit greedy here and trying to go in for drone kills. 6 workers killed over the course of the game. Not sure how many in that push, but I wouldn't get greedy right there. Probably Darkman knows he's greedy. Other good things we see here. taking watchtowers, looking for a third base. He's got a Marine here, so he knows when the Zerg player is going to expand. This is incredibly valuable information if you can back it up with the micro. Look at the production structures. It's the same ones that we've had, and we're getting a planetary fortress up and another refinery. It's craziness. Craziness. Look, here we go. Even more great. I mean, this is something that you won't see anyone in, I don't know, in the lower leagues doing this, building a wall of supply depots. Obviously he's got the money for it, so he can just straight up do it. But those types of things are extremely important as you get into the higher leagues, and Darkman could absolutely be in those higher leagues with a little bit of help. You can see the Hellion micro is excellent. Hellion micro is fantastic. So he's gonna poke in. Pausing real quick. Where are the structures, man? Where are they? It's crazy. Craziness. Poking in with the Hellions. Nothing to see here. He knows the third base is up because he had that clutch Marine there to check it out. Viking patrolling around. Look, Viking patrolling around trying to get overlords. Brilliant. Beautiful move. Great play. Scanning to take out the creep tumors. He's scanning and he's catching every single one of these creep tumors. Getting fungled by the Hellions, but the Hellions don't even have enough fungals to actually kill him. So that is ultimately a win for the Terran. And then what's he doing? He's taking more watchtowers. I was so blown away by how much was good in this replay that I just had to cast this replay to show how well you can play. And if your macro isn't there, you're going to stay in the lower leagues. So we can see 120, 130 supply versus 85. And that's just because of Darkman's play has disrupted the Zerg so incredibly much, and the Zerg had a huge macro error at the very beginning of the game. He took his 2 gas way too early, and you can still see the repercussions now. Way too much gas for the amount of minerals. And Darkman's going to be able to roll in here and just win this game. You can see spreading out the overlords, or the Vikings to get vision around everywhere. I mean, I really can't believe how much great stuff we're seeing from Darkman. It's really just so much beautiful play, and if it weren't for the lack of structures, you can see maybe like 1 or 2 structures have been added on since expanding twice. Clearly a mistake. So that's the point I want to make with this game to Darkman, and to the rest of you. To Darkman, I say, get the number of production structures you have and the number of bases you have just intimately linked inside of your head, so that you are adding on structures every time you expand. And the point I want to make to everyone else is, look how well you can play. Look how much great strategy and decision making and unit control you can do in a game and still be stuck in a league that is inappropriate for you. Darkman could easily be playing at a league much higher than that. You can see he's got good hotkeys. Everything is all hotkeyed up in a bunch of different groups. I mean, it's really great play. So I'm going to go grab a question from one of my previous videos. I'll be right back. Okay, this question comes from D-Wool Grump, and he says, I know you said scouting is not needed in bronze, but when I do scout, I wanted to know some tips to tell if there's an early attack incoming or if the player is going to macro and expand. By the way, I'm a silver player. So I picked this question because I wanted to kind of go back to something I said in the Terran Bronze to Diamond Bronze League game, and I said scouting isn't important. What I really meant to say, I shouldn't have said that. That's not true. Scouting is important, but what I meant to say is that mid-game scouting, I think, in the low leagues is not important. Because what's 100% more important than that is just having a good build order. And still, the reason that I said that is because a lot of things that will give you trouble in Bronze and Silver League, if you just have a better build order and it's executed cleanly and efficiently, a lot of things that killed you previously just won't be a problem anymore. Because the kinds of strategies that someone's in Bronze or Silver League is executing, most likely they're executing very, very badly. Either they're going to come way too late with way too few units, or the unit control is going to be so bad that maybe you can just out-control them. But most likely it'll be the first scenario where as soon as you're macroing much better, things just won't be a problem. A Baneling bust before that may have killed you, once you have a good build order that makes sense and gets you to an expansion, all of a sudden people try to Baneling bust you and you just have plenty of units. I mean, I'll say a higher league player that macros well and has a good build order versus a lower league player that does some kind of cheese or some kind of all-in in the first, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes of the game, it just won't be a problem. It won't kill them. You don't need to scout it. The build order itself will get you to the end. But his question was, when I do scout, I wanted to know some tips to tell if there's an early attack incoming. So the part that you should scout, and this is where I want to kind of go back on what I said, is that you should be scouting for cheese, because cheese is deadly if unscouted, no matter what league. So the things you should be looking for, and I'll just talk about from the Terran perspective right now. Your first SCV will go into a base, and depending on the race, there will be 3 units that can take out your SCV and deny your scouting. There will be a Marine from the Terran, either 1 or 2 Marines. If you're really clever with your micro, you can dodge 1 Marine. A Marine, a Zergling, or a Stalker. A Zealot can't actually deny your SCV. So the thing you should be doing with that SCV is checking the gas. The gas will give you all the indicator you need. If you see no gas, then clearly he's going to expand early, unless he's a Terran player, in which case maybe he's just going for a giant barracks all-in kind of thing. But you should probably be able to stay alive early enough to see whether he's expanding or not. Versus a Protoss, if he's not taking gas, then who knows what the heck he's doing. Protoss players, if they're going to try a Forge Fast Expand against a Terran, then just make a set of Marauders and just go crush them. And a Zerg player that doesn't have any gas is certainly going to be expanding. If you see a lot of gas, then that means there's going to be some kind of attack incoming. And it could be a lot of different things depending on the race. That would be a whole nother subject inside of itself, but that is what you should be looking for with that very first scout, and it's the majority of the information you can get before that first unit comes out and actually kills you. So just see how much gas is being mined. If it's 2 geysers, then that's when I'd start to get a little bit worried, especially against a Terran or Zerg player. If the Zerg has 2 gases and isn't expanding, then something is coming, something weird. Zergs don't have a whole lot of options, but I would guess Banelings, or maybe he's doing like a Nidus or something. I don't really know. But yeah, that's the thing to look for, and just focus on keeping that first scouting SCV alive as long as possible so you can check those extractors. Alright, well, this was Terran Bronze to Diamond in the Silver League. So leave me a question in the comments and I'll answer it at the end of the next video. Thank you for watching. Like this video, try to get it to 100. That is the number that I would like to see. It would make me very happy to see. So thanks again for watching, guys, and GG.